Welcome to Films and Stuff with your hosts, Pete Mitchell and Ethan Hunt.
Okay, Pete, we're talking about Winning Time. Give us a summary of episodes 4 and 5 that we watched this week.
Absolutely. So, episode 4 was a deeper dive on Jack McKinney, the newly hired coach to the Los Angeles Lakers. Here, we really only see a coaching montage. We learned that, he's a straight shooter, no-nonsense guy. And he wants to change the way the Lakers play their game from that of the stodgy, slow-paced game to one that's much more street ball-like, which is faster and up-tempo.
Yeah.
Exactly. Episode 5, we take a deeper dive on Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. We learn about his history and his opinions on not just his teammates, but on life and the way he fits into that life. We see the things that help him change his attitude, whether that's the altercation he has with Magic Johnson, or whether that's, him reminiscing with his friends. And finally, we end the episode learning that Coach Jack McKinney, who's off to a blistering start in the NBA, gets injured on a bike ride. And that's how we actually end the episode.
Yeah, a lot of suspense leading into episode 6.
Exactly. And now, on to the full episode with our review and recap.
Pete, welcome back. Here we are at Films and Stuff.
How are you, Ethan?
I'm great. My voice is at a very high decibel rate because I'm really excited about what we're talking about today, and that is Winning Time.
Oh, yeah.
HBO's Winning Time.
That's
about the
right.
Los Angeles Lakers. 1979. Seems like so long ago, huh?
Yeah. We had such hope back then.
Okay, so recap. We have already seen episodes number 1, episode 2, episode 3. We are now on episodes 4 and 5.
Yes.
With episode 6 to drop maybe later this week or so.
That's
Is that
right. That's absolutely right.
And I'm looking at IMDb, and it's in the 8.7 ranges for these last 2 episodes, and I have to say I fully agree with that. How about you?
I do as well. I think that unlike other shows that we've talked about that have been released episodically, like, for example, Halo, which we just dropped.
Yes.
It has, the way they've structured every episode is to say that there's plenty of, I don't want to say excitement because, Winning Time is obviously not an action series, right? It's a semi-biographical, semi-historical narrative dramatization on a sports team. But every episode has something that's exciting to talk about. And it also drives the overall story of that first season of the Lakers story forward.
Can I call this a feel-good series? Is that the right terminology, or do you think that's what they're trying to go for? But I feel like that's what they've achieved. I feel like it's really a feel-good series.
Feel good how?
Feel good in the sense that there's obviously negative things that happen in this show, right? There are challenges, there are obstacles, but I feel like everything is presented in a positive way that they accentuate the good and they don't dwell on the bad, or they accentuate how the good overcame the bad. And I just feel like there's this general aura of positiveness with this overall series that there are a lot of challenges. We've seen some of the challenges. There's financial challenges. There's personal challenges. Everyone has their little demons, right? No one is actually, especially Jerry Buss is really portrayed as more and more a womanizer, right?
Yep, that's right.
But I have to say, like, everything at the end kind of works out okay. And I just feel like there's this overall spirit of optimism that kind of pervades the show. And that's something that I think is only done just because of the the writing and the way that they filmed it, I think, is really interesting as well. Like it's have you noticed like there's a lot of, I don't know the actual techniques, but from time to time they'll switch over to like a more grainy footage, right? To kind of demonstrate that this was happening in 1979, you know? That from time to time they have these little animations, you know, that jump out at you, you know, to do something a little bit different. You know, we talked about the breakdown of the fourth wall, you know, earlier. So, I mean, I think that the writers and the creators have just done a nice job to make a very engaging show.
I'm a fan of it. I like what they've done. I'm not so sure if I agree with you in terms of the different styles that they're using. I like fourth wall breaks in shows like this, and because, you know, when used effectively, it's A, comedic, and B, very informative. And it gives you an insight. You remember when we talked about it, we were kind of referring to, you know, remember VH1's pop-up videos? It's similar to that. I
do. Yeah.
Right? So, which is to say, hey, look, we're going to continue with the story, but you know, the subtext of this point is this, and you break the fourth wall and you speak into the camera directly. I like that. What I'm not a huge fan of is the different art styles or the different filming styles that they're showing. In some, they're doing a little bit of the grainy video, as you said, you know, so it looks like an old school, like, video or VHS or Betamax tape that some guy has got on his shoulder and he's recording the game. Yeah. In others, you know, I think they use the euphemism of, in basketball parlance, you know, that scene in episode 4.
Levitating.
Of not just levitating, but also there was that sequence where, you know, they start showing it animated and they're talking about improvisation, you know, because they were talking about how it's like jazz versus classical orchestra. And I think that they'd use the animation style to kind of show it as a euphemism for all the different kinds of like sexual encounters that Magic Johnson was having. So,
true.
Again, nothing bad, nothing wrong. I don't think it takes anything away from the show. I just don't think that it adds anything to the show at this stage. But that's purely on a look basis. That's purely a visual appeal thing that has nothing to do with how I feel about the show. I still really like the show. It's the show, every episode, the show grows on me more and more from mooch someone's password towards subscribe to HBO Max to watch this.
All right. You're getting to my level now.
So I'm getting there. I'm still not 100% there, but I suspect by the end of this series, I will
You will be there.
Yeah. Right? Like Kareem predicting that by the end of the game, I will have my 30 points and 10 rebounds. I suspect I will be there as well. Right? Yeah. So, a quick recap. So episode 4 was all about the new coach, Jack McKinney. Is that right?
Jack McKinney.
Yeah.
Yes.
So it's all about Jack McKinney and how he's trying to, it's their preseason camp. And they're trying to kind of get the team together and say, hey, listen, I don't want you guys to play basketball like the NBA plays basketball. I want you guys to play basketball like street ball almost, right? Up-tempo, high energy, keep your legs moving, go for the breakaways, try to go for the fast breaks as often as you can. Yes. And, you know, we're going to have this rivalry between Nixon, the established point guard, and Magic, the new point guard. But then by the end of that episode, you see that they're actually going to be on the same team, and they're going to go with a 2-guard situation where both of them are in the court at the same time. Mm-hmm. And you see that the only person who's kind of not really with it at the moment is Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, who by the end of the episode kind of gets it. He appreciates it, but you don't really see him adopt that philosophy.
Right.
And then we go into episode 5, which really is a fast forward because the season has started now. Yeah. The Lakers are off to a hot start. I think they've won like nearly 10 games. And you see that everyone is bought into Jack McKinney's program except for Kareem, right? Who refuses to play with this up-tempo guy. And he really is this stodgy, grumpy. He's portrayed as this like super stodgy, super grumpy guy all the time, right?
Yeah.
And like
surly,
super surly, right? And like, and like I kind of predicted a couple episodes ago when I realized what they were trying to do with this show is we get a Kareem-centric episode, right? So we learn about his background, we learn about his upbringing, why he converted his religion, why he does the things that he does and says the things that he says and believes the things that he believes. Mm-hmm. And then at the end of the episode, you get this great confrontation between Magic Johnson and Kareem, because Kareem is like, well, you need to respect me. I'm here. I've been here for like X number of seasons. You've only been here for the one season and one game. And, you know, it's really funny because you've kind of, the Kareem that they're showing in this show is also, funnily enough, the Kareem that's kind of come out in the news today.
Yeah.
Right? And by today, I mean in the last couple of weeks, right?
Yes.
It's kind of fortuitous timing, right? Because there were a couple things that really Kareem has stuck out for. And the first was, of course, with Will Smith's slap, right?
What did he say about that? What did he say about that?
So Kareem's first reaction to Will Smith's slap, he has set black people back by doing this.
Oh,
right?
Kareem said that.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was Kareem who said that, right? And which is kind of something he's echoed in the past, which is, with his other criticism, which has been with LeBron James. Now, Kareem hasn't really said much about LeBron James until LeBron James joined the Lakers 2 seasons ago, right? And LeBron James, you know, love him or hate him, whatever you want to say, he has established himself as the best, one of the best, if not the best basketball player of the last 2 decades, right? And so he has this, you know, that kind of same mentality has come out where he kind of attacked LeBron for dancing on the court and saying, well, you know, a real winner doesn't behave like this.
Can we break these two things down? Let's just take let's make it a formal films and stuff vote.
Okay.
In terms of the Kareem criticism of Will Smith, do you agree or disagree with that criticism?
I disagree.
Okay. I also disagree with that criticism. In terms of his criticism of LeBron James, do you agree or disagree with that?
I agree.
I fully agree as well.
Which I think is really, this is where things get interesting for me, right? Because politically, he's saying the same thing for both of them, which is to say, keep your head down, behave properly, and move on with your life, right?
Let's divert just a little bit, and then we'll get back to winning time, if you don't mind.
No, of course not.
So the Will Smith assault on Chris Rock, which I think is one of the more entertaining subplots in a long time. Is there? I mean, it seems like almost universally, Will Smith has been criticized and panned for this, right?
Yes.
I don't think that he's gotten any support. Is there an alternate
Tiffany Haddish supported him.
Okay, Tiffany Haddish supported him. Is there an alternate universe, though, where someone says, you know what? There was a man making fun of someone else's wife, and the husband got up and defended his wife, and that is what a husband should do, and that is chivalrous and good for him, you know, standing up for his soulmate. Is there a different universe where that's the reaction to this?
So, funnily enough, I think there's that universe is still well and alive today, right?
Yeah.
I'm not saying that. I just think that you have to look at it you have to add a little bit more nuance, unfortunately, right? Is that I agree with you in what you're saying on paper that yes, he was being chivalrous, blah, blah, he was protecting his wife. Fair enough, right? Until you start looking at the details. First of all, Chris Rock, comedian. Obviously, he was joking. Second of all, if you break down the joke, let's just break down the actual joke. He wasn't joking about Jada Smith being bald and having alopecia. I'm sure he didn't even know that. I think he was just criticized. He wasn't even criticizing. I think he just literally made a reference to G.I. Jane, a film that was most notably made famous by Demi Moore because she shaved her head for that role, right? Second of all, when you look at that clip, what's really funny is that you see Will Smith laughing at that joke.
Yeah,
so I don't
think,
understand that dynamic. There's
yeah.
there's definitely more to this story. We don't know what's going on there between Will Smith and Jada Pinkett Smith and Rock. Rock has made other jokes at her expense in the past. Funny ones, in my opinion. And look, I don't want to get too political on this. I don't want to get too, involved in this thing because I don't want to get slapped by Will Smith. But the reality is that, it was the wrong thing to do because in any way you look at it, there was no excuse for it to be done, right? He shouldn't have slapped him in any case.
I think if it would have played out as follows, it would have been more acceptable. If Chris Rock had made the joke and Will Smith would have said, "Hey man, that's not funny. Don't do that." And then Chris Rock would have followed up with another joke. And then Will Smith gets up and punches him. Then I think it would have been okay. I think it was, as you mentioned, there was kind of a laugh and he seemed to it was almost forced that he came up. And then what really turned me off was he was chipping at him and kind of swearing at him. And I wish that wouldn't have happened. I wish he would have swore at him first saying, "Hey, don't make jokes about my wife." And if Chris Rock would have done it again and then he would have gone up and decked him, then I think it would have come off as more chivalrous. I think it was just the order of events that made it seem a little bit forced or unnecessarily escalated.
Yeah.
Is there something to that? Yeah.
I understand. Look, if you're trying to make it so that a slap is justifiable, that's probably the closest you'll get. I'm not saying that even in that situation it is, but I'll say this, that would be more understandable.
Yeah.
Right? Again, none of us at Films and Stuff is an advocate of any kind of physical violence, but I will say that that's more understandable.
I like that disclaimer. Okay, so that's Kareem's criticism of Will Smith. What about Kareem's criticism of LeBron James, which we both believe is totally warranted?
So for me, this is where things get more warranted. And again, this is I don't want to be prejudiced one way or another. I am kind of indifferent to LeBron James.
I think you're a Jordan guy. And that's why, right?
I am a Jordan guy, but that's fine. Yep. It's not even about that. See, the difference was Jordan, I think, was maybe a little... Jordan was very good, and he stayed quiet. He didn't he didn't make any political statements. He didn't dance on court. He was there to do... He was very single-minded, right? He was there to win games and win championships, and that's it. And when people tried to pull him into conversations about politics outside, he said, "Listen, Republicans buy sneakers too, so I'm just going to keep my mouth shut."
Yeah.
I think LeBron James is more of a product of today's day and age, which is to say, hey, you can't necessarily take out politics from sports. It's impossible. Where I think he's wrong, though, is that he has kind of put himself in a position to... He's put a target on his own back, right? Because you can't say, "I don't want to just be someone who's told shut up and dribble."
Yeah.
Right? Because that's what he was told previously. He stood up to that and said, "Hey, you don't get to say that to me." But then at the same time, when someone says or does something that he doesn't like or could negatively affect him, to tell that person to shut up as well. Right? Yeah. And this goes, and again, we're veering dangerously close towards politics here, but this is that whole thing with Daryl Morey, right? Who tweeted out in support of of Hong Kong versus China. And LeBron was the first to say, "Hey, keep your mouth shut because the NBA lost like $400 million worth of endorsements or whatever it was out of that because of that one single tweet. But then you can't have it both ways, right? You don't get to say that I'm okay saying anything I want to say, but the moment you say something that could potentially harm me financially, I have a problem. That doesn't work for me. And that I lost a lot of respect for LeBron James after that.
I agree with you on that. And I think my bigger criticism of LeBron, who I wholeheartedly agree with you, is in the pantheon of the top 3, 5, 2, basketball players ever.
Right.
But my bigger criticism of him is that, he's a little bit of a loafer when it suits him on the court.
Right.
That he's a little bit dramatic when it comes to getting elbowed or, taking, like a knee or something. And that he's a little bit, he chooses when he wants to be competitive. I mean, one of the things I think everybody admires about Michael Jordan is that Michael Jordan would not be denied. Whether it was regular season, a nationally televised game, or a playoff game, he really brought the same intensity all the time.
And not just to basketball, by the way, right? To everything.
To everything. To gambling, to everything,
to
right?
Throwing quarters against the wall, to golfing with Charles Barkley. It didn't matter.
And I think one of the things that people are a little bit frustrated with LeBron about is that LeBron says, for example, he's sitting out the last 2 games of the year. Yes, they're not going to make the playoffs, which is a different criticism, but he's saying, hey, you know what? That's it. I'm done. I'm not going to play the last 2 games. I feel like, and this is a hypothetical, there's no way of knowing, Michael Jordan would never sit out the last 2 games. They wouldn't be meaningless for him. He would say, I love basketball. I want to compete. I'll be out there, right?
And he would also possibly use that as an opportunity to say, hey, if I'm not going to make the playoffs, I'm going to do my damnedest to make sure that the next 2 games I play, the people we're playing, they're not going to make it either, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. I think if you remember when we watched the Last Dance,
right?
In was it his rookie year or his second year when he broke his foot, and then he came back for the playoffs against the Boston Celtics. He was talking about how the doctor said, you probably shouldn't play. Save yourself for next season. There's a 50% chance that you can do more damage. He's saying, yeah, but there's a 50% chance that I won't do more damage. I'll be fine, And I think that was one of those events, in the Jordan anthology that people have come to embrace so much, which is, look at the guy. He wanted to play. Possibly he could have been hurt. He absolutely wanted to play and to compete. Whereas now more than ever, we see this, load management and people taking games off, to alleviate the stress on their knees or ankles or something. And that's something I think has really not resonated positively, for someone like LeBron James, who everyone wants to see play, right? They circle that game on their calendar. They want to see him play. When he voluntarily sits out, it's very frustrating.
Yeah, Look, there's the MJ versus LeBron argument. You can have it run ad nauseum, right?
And it's dynamic. It's dynamic.
It is. And I just think that, I put it this way. My argument to everyone who always says that LeBron is better than Michael Jordan is, if you put Michael Jordan of that day in today's league, he'd probably be dropping 60 points a game, every game, right? He would probably draw 30 fouls and still do his normal 30 points on top of that. So, anyway, irrelevant. Fine.
Have you come to, having watched just the first few episodes of Lakers, have you come to think that Kareem or Magic are better or worse basketball players than you remembered them?
No, because what's interesting is that so far, 5 episodes in, we've seen very little actual basketball.
Well, that's true.
And I think for me, especially when it comes to basketball, which is an incredibly dynamic and visual sport, I need to see more of it before I can say, oh man, that guy's actually really good. right?
Yeah.
You saw a little bit of it at episode 4 when you finally see, the Jack McKinney's vision come to life, and the A team literally dunks on the B team all day long.
Yeah.
Right? And then you see a little bit of it with that final shot that Kareem takes in episode 5, where he takes his famous sky hook, right, to win the game. Go on.
Yeah, I would say that my appreciation or my perception is that Kareem was so talented and skilled that even giving a half-assed effort and even with a bad attitude, he was dominant. And that has to count for something. Whereas I feel like Magic Johnson, to me, was for him to win a championship as a rookie and for him to kind of take that team and fit in, given all the other personalities, I think really demonstrates quite a lot of, I don't want to say just leadership, but just so much like EQ, where he could kind of like play his best basketball, but at the same time encourage Kareem to obviously get on board, work with Norm Nixon, work with all those other guys like Michael Cooper. I think that this show portrays Magic in a very positive way in terms of how he fit into that squad.
Yeah, I think I'll be able to better answer that question in the coming episodes when we see a little bit more basketball.
Fair.
And I expect that we will, just because, why would you not want to show the playoffs and what happens? Yep. So I think that's where it becomes a little bit more exciting for me. So
let me ask you this question then, if you can't answer that one. Who is the main character in this show? If I said the main character is Jerry Buss, do you agree?
I would probably say Jerry Buss, yeah.
Now, if I said the main character is Magic Johnson, do you agree?
I don't, because at this stage...
Oh, really?
Yeah, the way I look at it is that...
It's Jerry Buss. Huh?
The way I look at it is that Jerry Buss is kind of really the glue of the organization at the moment. He's kind of getting everyone... He's overlooking the entertainment side. He's the one making them showtime. He's fabricating the on-court chemistry. He's fabricating the coaching chemistry. He's got his fingers in all the different pies there.
All right.
And I think that the reason at first I would have said that Magic Johnson is the center is because A, he's the point guard, and B, the first 2 episodes were really about Magic Johnson, right? But I think what we're seeing now is that as we go deeper into the season, we're going to see more and more episodes centered on different key players, right? Yeah. So we saw one on Kareem. We've seen some on Magic. We kind of saw some with Pat Norm Riley, a little bit of Norm Nixon. Yeah. I'm sure we're going to get more on Westhouse. Jason Segel's character. Yep. I'm sure we're going to get more on even maybe on Jeannie.
We got some good Jerry West. We'll get more on Jeannie.
Right.
Adrian Brody, Pat Riley. Yep.
Right. We will. And then I don't expect we'll get much on Paula Abdul, but who knows at this stage, right? So
maybe I have to say when I look at IMDb, Paula Abdul is not. I gotta look at all cast and crew. She's not listed as one of the first few folks.
Yeah, I'm not exactly. So I don't know who the next people they're going to focus on are. What I expect is that we're going to see a little bit more of a deep dive on a few more people, and then after that, it's going to be about the Lakers as a team, right? And their perseverance through the playoffs. Because, in fact, it's probably going to start now, right? Because at the end of episode 5, we see that Jack McKinney has his biking accident.
Yeah. Right? I didn't know that happened in real life. Did you?
Only after I did a bit of research on this episode. Yeah. On this show.
Same.
So that's what I expect now. We're going to see, Jason Segel step up.
Yeah.
Somehow I expect Pat Riley to get involved in the coaching staff. And I don't know the whole story because I don't know the nuances of what happened in the first season. I just know where Pat Riley kind of was. Yeah. And so I expect that he's going to transition away from being an announcer into some kind of assistant coach.
Yeah.
Before finally usurping. And then I think the rest of the season, because we're, 5 episodes in, I think there's only another 5 episodes left. So I think we're going to see them now spend the rest of it, the bulk of the episodes on the actual basketball and winning the playoffs and so forth.
It's interesting because I knew historically the Lakers won the championship in the first season of Magic Johnson. And I always thought that their coach was Paul. Is it Westfall or Westhead?
Westhead or Westhouse, something like that. West something. Yes. Jason C.
Hold on. We got to find the guy. It's Westhead. It's
okay,
Paul Westhead. I always thought their coach was Paul Westhead, so I was so confused about this Jack McKinney. And then when they showed him riding the bike, and they really did it in I don't know, maybe it's a clever way or maybe it's a cheating way. I thought the car was going to hit him.
Yeah, so did I.
I mean, I thought it was pretty clear he was going to get hit by the car. He was going to die. He was living his dream. And it was going to be this just tragedy that the assistant coach finally got his shot. He overcame all this adversity. People bought into his system. Even Kareem wanted to say team on 3. And then he was going to die on his one day off. It was going to be just one of those Alanis Morissette, isn't it ironic kind of lyrics, right?
Yeah.
And then, his bike brake just broke, right, on his 10 speed. And then he just kind of fell off. And then I was confused, is he dead? Is he not dead? What happened? So then I researched it as well. And obviously I saw what happened. But then now I understand, okay, that's how Paul Westhead, became the coach and obviously led them to the championship that year. But my appreciation for this show, I think, is very high because I kind of know what's going to happen. You know what's going to happen. I mean, almost everybody knows at least a little bit about the Lakers and Magic Johnson and Kareem. It's not like a mystery, right? We know that the team didn't go bankrupt. We know that they've become very successful. We may not know all the details episode by episode, which is why the show is cool, but we know it's going to happen, but still it's engaging. And I think one of the reasons it's engaging to me, you're probably right that Jerry Buss is John C. Reilly is the main character, but we've actually been introduced to enough people that we kind of know a little bit about a bunch of folks, right?
Exactly. And I think everyone is kind of they're load sharing, right? Everyone takes a little bit of weight on their backs for every episode to say, hey, this episode's going to be about me. We're not. We're going to barely see John C. Reilly in this episode.
Yes.
Or we're going to barely see Jeannie Buss in this episode, which I think is quite nice that way.
Yeah. And I have to say, I don't know if this is true or not, but I feel like that's the Game of Thrones equation, or because
formula.
There was, the formula. There are so many people that we knew in Game of Thrones. Contrast that to, and here's where I'm going to piss you off, Halo, where we haven't really been introduced to anybody. Master Chief, Dr. Halsey, no one else do we really know a whole lot about.
Yeah.
Right? And that's, I think, what this show has done well, is that we feel like we know Jerry West. We feel like we know Paul Westhead, right? We know a little bit about him being a professor. He was hired into this thing. He felt disrespected. Now he's got the job. We know a little bit about Pat Riley, right? We know a little bit about Kareem. We know a little bit about Magic. We know a little bit about Norm Nixon. We can actually say, even Jeannie Buss, right? Even Jerry Buss's mom, right? I mean, his ex-wife, his daughter. There's a lot of characters. And it's not like these are 2-hour episodes. It's not like we've watched 2 seasons. They've just done enough scenes focusing on these folks in an engaging enough way that we feel like, okay, they're maybe not main characters, but they're very strong supporting characters,
Mm-hmm. This is the difference between Winning Time and Halo. I'm intrigued to see where they go in episode 6. Halo, I couldn't really care about where they're going with episode 4.
And you know what the opposite is? we know what's going to happen in winning time.
That's the crazy thing. Yeah.
We don't know exactly what the plot is going to be, but
we know where the finish line is.
Yeah, we know where the finish line is. So it's interesting that we're more interested to see a show where we kind of know what's happening next than a show where we have no idea what's next. It should be the opposite, right?
So winning time, I'm in. I think,
But you're still giving it a mooch, and I'm giving it a subscribe.
At this stage, I am. At this stage, I am only because for a show about ostensibly about basketball, we've seen very little of it. Do
you think when this show has more basketball, it's going to be, sports shows that's also a very tricky thing to do, right? Because it needs to be, I think football movies have this as one of their challenges also. It's always very difficult to get the action right where it's believable, especially when we're talking about like a professional NBA level. So if you're going to do the action, you've got to really make it good. Yeah.
But it also gives you if and when that action sequence is done well, or that, on-court sequence is done well, it gives you a little bit of visual flair, and it gives you a little bit of something that you can kind of say, hey, look, this is what we did, right? It gives you some kind of excitement that's a little bit more than just off-court drama.
Not a whole lot. I'm trying to think of like how many basketball movies. Remember when we did our episode where we reviewed best sports movies of all time? We reviewed the basketball movies. I think we had White Men Can't Jump.
Yep.
We had Blue Chips, where you said Nick Nolte was already going crazy. Shaquille O'Neal was in that. We had Hoosiers. We had The Way Back with Ben Affleck.
Yeah.
Possibly. And what else do we have that was a serious basketball movie?
Basketball movies, not so much. There was a couple with that maybe we didn't mention, but we should have. Coach Carter with Samuel L. Jackson.
Oh, yeah. Coach Carter. Right. So,
with a few exceptions, almost all of them had a little bit of on-court basketball stuff, right?
Yeah.
That the scene that always hangs out in that always lives in my mind with White Men Can't Jump was that 2-on-2 sequence with Snipes and Woody Harrelson. Yeah.
Yep.
Right? And that I'm not saying that's what the movie was all about, but I mean, that was certainly, it helped me it kept it in my mind, at least.
Do you think we should also do an episode of least likely duos? And Woody Harrelson and Wesley Snipes would be very close to Chris Tucker and Jackie Chan, maybe, for least likely duos.
Absolutely. And most likely, which is like Kevin Hart and The Rock. For some reason, it just works, right?
And most likely because that's a modern equivalent of Arnold Schwarzenegger and Danny DeVito.
Danny DeVito, that's right.
Right?
Yeah.
That it's like one of those old. I mean, you can't really go wrong when you pair someone who's very physically imposing with someone who's small and runs their mouth a lot, right?
Yeah.
Who did Eddie Murphy get paired with on like all those Beverly Hills Cops shows?
In Beverly Hills, he was on his own, but the funny pairing was Eddie Murphy and the gallery owner, who was
Balki Bartakamos.
Yes, exactly. That's exactly who I was thinking of, but I couldn't think of his name.
From Perfect Strangers, Balki Bartakamos.
So
no idea what that guy's name is in real life. No idea. Not Balki.
But, Beverly Hills Cop, he was more of a lone act in any case, right?
Yeah.
It's another one. Was there a movie where he was tied up with somebody else? Eddie Murphy. There must have been.
Yeah. I thought there was a Beverly Hills Cop 2 where he was tied up with somebody. The guy from Night Court. Judd.
Oh, wow. The actual judge?
No, Judd. What's that guy's name?
I don't remember.
His name is Judd, right? His first name is Judd.
I don't remember. Only Judd I know is Judd Apatow.
We know that Judd. And Ashley Judd.
Oh, yeah, and Ashley Judd.
I don't know. We'll think about it at some point.
Well, anyway, off of our random tangent yet once again. Winning time.
This one was winning time. So yeah. I'm still giving it. It's a subscribe in my book. It's a mooch in mine.
Book. That's right. And but like we can predict, it will probably be a subscribe by the end of the series.
All right.
But I'm really enjoying it. I'm looking forward to it. And to any of our listeners, if you haven't seen it, we highly recommend that you start watching it.
Highly recommend it. Okay. Pete, that is all the time we have today.
That's right.
Next episode, we've got something pretty cool.
That's right. In the next couple episodes, we're going to talk about Moon Knight, which is now in its second week.
Oh, yeah. Third week, right? We've already seen the first two
episodes.
Right?
Yeah, that's right. And the third's coming out, I think, next week. And we have to see, we have to discuss, even though, so I saw it already, but we have to discuss Morbius.
I'm seeing it tonight in 4 hours.
Okay. Yeah. I'm not going to spoil anything for you. But I will say I'm
not with that voice. You're not.
I will say I'm glad you're watching it.
All right.
And okay. I will come back to this statement when we talk about Morbius. When I say I'm glad you're watching it as well.
All right. So next episode, Moon Knight. Thanks everybody for tuning in and listening.
Thanks, Ethan.
Thanks, Pete. Bye, all.
Thank you for listening to another episode of Films and Stuff. If you haven't already, please subscribe and review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever podcasts are downloaded. Films and Stuff. There is no substitute.